There are so many things that I could say about our generation, and especially in reference to previous generations before. And I want to touch on this subject of the adult child. Okay. One of the most beautiful things that we can do as human beings is to say, I was wrong. Or, I used to think this way. I'm very familiar with this ideology. I'm very familiar with this means of thinking, and I understand it to the depth. I no longer think that way, but I do understand it. We got a lot of people out here now who are full of passion, and I'm just going to say it, they push button, receive bacon, they desire to enact this great amount of change. But inwardly, we see what happens when what they desire does not happen. They erupt, they explode, they go into it. They become they're very volatile. As far as periodic scale is concerned, these are not Chernobyl gases. These are the volatile substance on the opposite end of the spectrum, actually on the lower left-hand side, where there's cesium. As soon as it contacts water, it explodes all over the place. We don't want to be like that. As adults, we're meant to be either more in the middle, and truly, if we're following righteousness and pursuing justice, and we have a view of eternity, we're moving more towards the noble end of the periodic spectrum, the periodic table. My unique perspective is such that I see the world in terms of stress and comforts. You have certain stresses, and if you bear with them, you can achieve something. But if you're constantly resorting to comforts, on the other hand, and pick your poison, okay? Some people fall into relationships. Other people get into, have power trips. They try to influence and force one another. They try to have their way in the world. Push button, receive bacon. Video games are a nice feedback system to reinforce those habits. But I think that when we try to apply that video game logic into the real world, that's when you're going to encounter a lot of frustration, and this is when you're going to see a lot of people raging. Some waking thoughts this morning. I was thinking about what's his name, David Hogg, and I saw a couple stills. I've seen a couple movies here and there, and as I look at the guy, I'm thinking, wow, the narcissism runs deep. Now, what people don't understand is that a narcissist will get involved with an empath. The narcissist and the empath are polar. They tend to attract one another. The empath is able to identify readily with many emotions. The narcissist plants a suggestion, and the empath identifies with it, whether it's truth or a lie. The empath is willing to believe. So, I'm doing a little bit of edits here, so I'm sorry for the sound jumping around. But as I'm thinking it through, and really what we have, blah, 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 I'm starting to equate this empathic mindset with victimized thinking. And the reason that I do this is because in each case, a society undergoes a particular trauma. They are humbled by it. And in a desire to escape themselves, they cling to a charismatic leader who suggests that some kind of way they're the ones who have been doing it all wrong, and if they only listen to the charismatic leader, all of their problems will be solved. We've seen this happen in Venezuela. We've seen this happen in Germany. We've seen this happen throughout history. You know what? There's some stronger history buffs out there, and I know what I see. This is what I'm seeing. Western civilization is beginning to self-hate, and not only are our current values in mirror opposition to what they once were 30, 40, 50 years ago, we're now embracing the corruption of decay instead of the growth rate of prosperity, of not even prosperity. I dislike that word. Doing well for oneself, living well. We no longer value that as a society anymore. Once a society, once a culture experiences a great trauma, their first reaction is to the emotional reaction. The feminized reaction is to seek a governmental daddy figure to make everything better. What we're looking at is the feminization of Western civilization. And they're using the kids to do it.